This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. For the last 8 weeks, people from Pukatawagan have been trying their best to make shelters and hotels feel like home. Thousands were forced to flee wildfires at the end of May. Families separated, some across multiple provinces. And for now, they still have no idea when they'll be able to go back. CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco has the latest.
It was a fast-moving threat endangering Pukatawagan and its thousands of residents. Wildfires burning thousands of hectares around the remote northern flying community. People scrambled to get out in a matter of days with the help of the armed forces.
They were tired, exhausted, kids crying. They had one bag and they were in need of so many things as soon as they arrived.
That was the beginning of June. Since then, evacuees have been scattered in Manitoba and Ontario. Some have been out of their home for 8 weeks.
And we all want to go back home to our homelands where we could be free and enjoying each other's company and no worries.
Pukatawagan has been under one of the longest evacuation orders in Manitoba. The main wildfire threatening the community has receded, but it might be weeks before evacuees can return. Plus, a new fire has flared up. There is also no power, and railway service is limited.
We're working hard to take our people back home.
But after nearly 2 months out, finding ways to keep busy isn't always easy. And for some, being in a new and big city comes with dangers. Morale is getting low.
A lot of us have grown up in outdoor settings, fishing, hunting, and our home is on the land. And being in a concrete, let's say, jungle, it's not home. A lot of people just want this to be over.
Meanwhile, a group has stayed behind on the ground, working to keep their community safe. They say rotten food has been cleared from fridges, pets are being fed, and plants water. And they're keeping up patrols to watch out for trespassers and break-ins.
It was a challenge, but we stood up and we stood our ground. Our community is still standing. We lost our sawmill. 2 individuals lost their cabins. Other than that, everything else is still intact.
Now they're hoping to cap the summer with a safe return home. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now power is out in the northern Manitoba town of Leaf Rapids after a wildfire entered the community there earlier this week. Manitoba Hydro said it's aware of some poles and lines that are down, leaving the town without power. It says there's no safe access for crews to assess the damage or start to make repairs. On Wednesday, a blaze entered the town, burning a home and a number of derelict buildings. Starlink is also not working, making it difficult for people to get information. The Red Cross in the province met with evacuees Thursday, but many say they have a list of questions that remain unanswered, like how they'll get home, what happens if more houses burn, and what happens to those who've lost their jobs.
Another concern was the smoke damage there already is to everybody's home, and we're not there to clean anything up so it's just a lot of uncertainty, really. It's uncertainty and anxiety.
I need action. The people need action, they said, and I have to agree with a lot of what was said is we have people that say, oh, I will do this for you, and then we don't see those people and we don't hear from those people again.
There is another meeting scheduled for next week. Well, if it feels smokier than usual this summer in Winnipeg, that's because, well, it is. We are even on the verge of the smokiest summer on record for the city. CBC's Bryce Hoy explains.
There's been a lot of smoky skies in Winnipeg this summer, air quality warnings. No surprise why. Manitoba is in the midst of its worst wildfire season in 3 decades. And sorry to say, but at this rate, Winnipeg can expect more hazy summers ahead.
With increasing temperatures and increasing, heat in many areas of the country, we will have also an increasing number of forest fires. And with an increasing number of forest fires, we will also have increasing smoke hours.
Those smoke hours are tracked by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Basically, an observer at a weather station peers across the horizon. If they can't see past about 9.5 kilometers or less, that's logged as a smoke hour. The highest smoke hour year on record in Winnipeg, 1961, thanks to a drought and significant wildfire year. Skip ahead and you see so far this year, there's already been more than 200 smoke hours in Winnipeg, and it's only July, which means we could be on track to set a new record.
We do see this increasing, and some of it can be attributed to climate change or drought or the heat.
Environment Canada Air Quality Forecast Manager Céline Audette says they look at the particulate matter in the air as well, yet another measure of wildfire smoke that is going up and up.
So all of those factors together are synergistic. They're compounding together to create more of these events happening across Canada.
Air quality advisories warn people with asthma and other chronic conditions that they're especially at risk. And though more research is needed, there's some hints emerging suggesting wildfire smoke exposure could be associated with higher rates of cancer, heart issues, and could impact pregnancies. That's why Audette says it's important to protect yourself. Wear a mask when it's smoky outside, limit outdoor activity, and check the air quality index on the Weather Can app or on the Environment Canada website. Bryce Hoy, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Perfect time now to bring our weather specialist, Riley Lachuk. Riley, we've been talking about the smoke a lot over the last few weeks. Lots of people noticing that, wearing masks outside. The other thing we're talking a lot about is a lot of those colors that are behind you and the storms that we keep seeing popping up.
Very active afternoon, Brittany. I'll talk about the air quality in just a moment. I'm going to start with a look at where we're looking at some active weather pushing through the parkland right now around the Duck Mountains. A severe thunderstorm warning in place now for the Ethelbert region, stretching back all the way across Lake Winnipegosis toward Lake Manitoba, Grand Rapids, looking at the potential for some very strong winds, some heavy rain, the potential for some hail. We also have a tornado watch that's in place for a good chunk of south central Manitoba, Portage La Prairie, St. Rose, all the way down south to Morden Winkler and into the international border. This is that very brief system here that pushed through the city of Winnipeg not long ago that we saw a brief downpour, a little bit of hail in there, and certainly some thunder and lightning as well. So pretty active afternoon across the province, all because of this very unstable, hot, humid air mass that we've been under. Air quality warnings remaining in place for parts of the north through Thompson into Flin Flon, Lynn Lake, looking at air quality concerns remaining in place for the next several days yet across the north. Into the day on Saturday, 32, looking at the risk of thunderstorms as we head into the afternoon and the evening. Very hot, very humid, Brittany, as we head into the weekend. I'll break it all down when I come back.
All right, Riley's on Storm Watch. Thank you. Well, some Winnipeggers want to see police crack down on copper and bike thefts. It continues to be a problem throughout the city, despite provincial legislation that was designed to make it harder to sell the stolen goods. As CBC's Mike Arsenault reports, there's a growing call for better enforcement.
Bike parts scattered throughout an encampment in Winnipeg. This as bike and copper theft continues to be an issue in the city. Mark Coho from Bike Winnipeg has seen it firsthand.
And we know that bikes are being stolen, sort of turned into scrap and sold for that. And it's, it's related to some of the other issues we have in the city, homelessness. It's certainly part of the addictions issue too.
The Scrap Metal Act was implemented in 2022 to curb the sale of stolen metal, specifically catalytic converters. The city saw a decrease in converter thefts, but the act applies to all scrap metal, and the theft of copper and bikes is still an issue. Coho wants to see the police do more to enforce the act.
The Scrap Metal Act provides that opportunity to try and stop that at least that one path of bike theft, sort of that scrap metal path.
The act requires scrap metal buyers to record every transaction involving scrap metal, keep the records for 2 years, and provide that information to police if asked. Sel Burrows worked with the province to strengthen the act. He says some scrapyards are part of the problem.
Everybody focuses on the frontline criminal, but we also need to look at who's buying stolen goods. These are businesses quite often and they need to be held accountable.
Justice Minister Matt Wiebe says the province is working with police to tackle the issue of stolen bikes and copper.
This is a serious problem, and it's not just a serious problem in our province, but we know it is across Canada. Other jurisdictions are also dealing with this. If you're stealing copper wire, it's dangerous.
Wiebe says most scrap metal dealers are cooperative, but some aren't following the rules. Winnipeg police say in a statement the issue is on their radar. The Property Crimes Unit is involved in ongoing efforts to mitigate illegal activity regarding the theft of metals, including the involvement of vendors in the conversion process for financial gain.
Stop, the dealers collecting that scrap metal from people. That discourages the theft.
Coho suggests people register their bikes too, so if it's stolen, there's a possibility of getting it back. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
They were trapped hundreds of meters below ground for more than 60 hours. We'll have more on the tense rescue mission straight ahead. 3 mine workers in BC have been rescued after being trapped hundreds of meters underground since Tuesday. It happened at the Red Chris mine near Dease Lake, about 420 kilometers west of Fort Nelson. CBC's Lindsay Duncombe has the latest on the rescue.
There is such a sense of relief, even joy here at the Red Chris mine site in northern British Columbia. We heard from officials that when these 3 workers were rescued, the first thing they said is that they had a chance to have a good sleep. So that joke, a sign that they are in good spirits.
And certainly when the rescue team announced to us, we've got all 3 of them, they're in good spirits. I mean, goosebumps as I say it, happiness, but more happiness for them.
Mine officials here from Newmont who own the mine say that there will be medical assessments. There were medical teams on site when they were rescued, as well as mental health services available for these workers who spent 60 hours underground. They were 284 meters below the surface with no communication. Initially, a scooper was used, a remote controlled to get some of that debris away from the refuge station where the workers were inside. Once that happened, that same vehicle was repurposed, and it was that vehicle that went through the tunnel and brought those workers out one by one. And the workers have now left site. They have been reunited with family. The focus now turns to the investigation. Why did this happen, and how could it be prevented?
We'll share the lessons learned with industry so that we can make sure we prevent incidents like this into the future.
This is a project that has been highlighted by the province of British Columbia as something that should be fast-tracked in light of the tariffs in the United States. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, near Dease Lake, British Columbia.
Among the trapped miners was a Manitoban, a driller from here in Winnipeg. And while he is safe, the complicated rescue operation had those who live and work in mining towns here in our province watching closely. CBC's Zubina Ahmed has more.
It was a moment of relief and reassurance, more than 60 hours in the making.
The team found Kevin, Darian and Jesse.
Jesse Chabati, a driller from Manitoba, was one of the 3 miners trapped in BC, thankful to be alive. On Facebook, he called it a wild week. Those who know the mining industry well say it wasn't just luck. They say the safeguards worked. George Fontaine is the mayor of Flin Flon, where workers have been mining for decades.
The things that they did in preparation, in advance, knowing that it could happen, is what saved lives. And then finding ways that they could to get in there and clear it out. It's just magnificent what they can do. Anybody who works underground knows the dangers of working underground.
Thompson is another key mining city in Manitoba. Mayor Colleen Smook says years ago it was more common to hear of these incidents, but they are rare today.
Years ago, you likely would have lost some people, but with the due diligence of the mining companies, of the unions at work, of all the personnel and the safety training they get, I definitely feel that we're in a much better situation over the past decades.
Smook says both the province and the federal government have very strict mining regulations and layers of oversight. And this case has a happy ending. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A new 24-hour gas bar is the first business to open on the former Kapyong Barracks site in Winnipeg. The business is the first for Nawi Udena. It's located at, as we said, the former Kapyong Barracks site along Taylor and Kenaston. Treaty 1 First Nations leaders say the gas station will lead to a brighter economic future for its people. The station has hired 25 staff members, with all but 1 being First Nations members. Chief Gordon Bluesky says it's taken a lot of work to get to this moment.
I know for a number of years, I think a lot of people really struggled in the understanding of whether we'd ever get here in terms of having this place reclaimed and turned back to reserve status where it belongs with our people, and also seeing businesses being developed here.
The 64-hectare area became the largest urban reserve in Canada back in 2022 when the lands were repatriated to 7 Treaty 1 First Nations. Riley's back in now, and just before we went on air, we had a very quick but heavy rainstorm, which for a lot of people who may have gotten stuck in it, it was a welcome reprieve because of that heat today. My goodness.
Cools you off. Bit of a natural shower from Mother Nature to cool you off a little bit. As we head into the overnight hours, particularly the further east you are in the province, Brittany, do expect these pop-up thunder showers to come and go every now and then because of this very hot, very sticky air mass we're under. Temperatures this afternoon, as forecast, 31 degrees in Winnipeg. You can really see the area where that warm front has really cut into the province here with these 30-degree temperatures, 33 in Swan River. And then you can see our next feature, which is a cold front that's going to try and squeeze its way south here as we get into the evening hours and not do a great job pulling our temperatures down. I'll have more to say on that in just a bit, but looking at the latest watches and warnings, this is the instability that I've been talking about that could fuel some of these thunderstorms as we get into the evening hours. So generally scattered, pretty isolated, but you have seen some of that development through the parkland and up toward Grand Rapids. So as this warm front pushes eastward, we do get into the evening hours tonight, the potential for some thunderstorms into northwestern Ontario. And then you see this cold front start to sink a little bit further south here, and it does not do a great job at pulling our temperatures down. In fact, it just kind of stalls out at the international border here, and what this will do is combine with another area of low pressure that is working its way south of the border here, potentially as we get into early Sunday morning, even bringing us another shot of some showers or some thunderstorms along this frontal boundary as we get into the day on Sunday. Bit cloudier, bit more dreary into Sunday. That's because of yet another area of low pressure, this one along the territorial border, and a cold front along with this will actually give us a bit of a reprieve from this very hot and very humid weather that we're looking at into the next couple of days here across southern Manitoba. So as we get through Sunday, a slight chance that we get some showers out of some of this in the Red River Valley, but then as we get into Monday, this is the trigger for some potential thunderstorm activity into early Monday morning. And then behind that, we finally get back into a bit more comfortable conditions, a mix of sun and clouds into Monday, and temperatures that feel a lot more seasonal, a bit more of a drier air mass into that as well. So thunderstorm risk as we get into the afternoon on Saturday, generally in this gray area, the potential for some strong winds or some heavy downpours. But again, here in the Red River Valley, we have that potential for some wind gusts up to 90 kilometers an hour, some hail up to the size of quarters, and some downpours once again. So keep your eyes on the skies for the afternoon. I don't mean to say anything worth canceling your plans over. Just be sky aware as we get through the weekend here because we could get into some rumbles of thunder through the afternoon. So 32 in the afternoon for Winnipeg, temperatures around 30 into much of southern Manitoba. And then we start to see things pulling back towards seasonal Brittany as we get into early next week.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
Welcome.
Well, just moments ago, the Premier announced a by-election many have been waiting for in our province. Spruce Woods will head to the voter poll on Tuesday, August 26th. Now, that is being held to replace Grant Jackson, a Tory who resigned in March to run for federal office. The seat in Western Manitoba is a long-time PC stronghold, and the Tories captured more than 60% of the vote there in the last provincial election. Right now, there are 57 seats in the Manitoba legislature. Currently includes 34 NDP, 20 PCs, and one Liberal and one independent member, and one vacant seat. Well, this flavor of ice cream is so popular, it has a small but mighty cult-like following. We'll tell you about it after the break.
Feline Friday time, ×2 once again, because I have so many cat photos to get to. First up, well, actually, maybe this is ×3. I don't know. You can decide for yourself on this one. Lucky and BB. Thank you, Sandy, for sending this picture. And great picture, great depiction of what I'm going to be doing this weekend on my balcony. And Izzy, thanks, Paula, for sending this picture in. You can send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. So feeling closer to 40 into the afternoon hours tomorrow. That fuels a thunderstorm risk across southern Manitoba once again. Our temperature, 32 degrees. Slightly cooler to Sunday, still muggy at 28 through the afternoon, 26 on the way for Monday, and then you'll see things moderating as we get into next week and things stabilizing a bit with some sunshine through the end of the week as well. If you're from Manitoba, you've likely heard of it, but outside of our province, apparently it's rare, blue licorice ice cream.
Maybe a good weekend for it.
Yeah.
It's unique, and for some, it's a beloved flavor, known not just for its vibrant color, but its distinct taste. Jim Agapito has our daily lift.
I'm outside of Sergeant Sunday in Winnipeg to get the scoop on one thing: blue licorice ice cream. Why is it a big deal in Manitoba? We're about to find out. The reason why we're here, Andrew, is that blue licorice ice cream, first of all, how popular is that amongst customers?
Fairly popular. Blue licorice has its own kind of cult to it.
Cult? Tell me about this cult.
You find it across with certain flavors of ice cream. Blue licorice, chocolate malt, those would be like the two that we would have, like very specific customers that will come in and find us for our ice cream.
Why is this such a thing in Manitoba?
I mean, there's a lot of cultures for which licorice flavoring is very popular. I grew up Mennonite, and our chicken noodle soup is flavored with star anise, which star anise is another way to call it. It's basically a licorice flavoring. It seems like a weird thing to put in chicken soup, but that's my culture. It's actually very good.
Let me try. Definitely get the licorice. Yeah, I think the blue, I don't know if it's a color that's added or whether it comes from the black licorice, but it's definitely got that black licorice taste.
You took two?
No talking, just eating. Yeah, no, this is really good. This is good stuff. We'll have again.
No talking, just eating.
Yeah,
Words
exactly,
to live
yeah.
by.
I can live with
weekend,
that.
right? Perfect
Yeah.
weekend to have some ice cream, whether it's blue licorice or not.
Hot and sticky.
We will see you back here Monday.
Have a good one.